Your words shape your world. Every sentence you speak, every phrase you repeat is a creative force molding the reality around you. Language is not simply a tool for communication. It is a mechanism of manifestation. When you speak, you are not just describing the world, you are scripting it. The words you use carry energy, intention, and direction. If you continuously affirm limitation, doubt, or fear, you plant seeds that grow into lived experiences of those very things. On the other hand, when you speak with conviction about abundance, peace, and strength, you shape your environment to reflect that inner stance. We often underestimate the subtle but powerful link between speech and experience. A complaint voiced once may seem harmless, but when repeated it becomes a pattern, and patterns become identities. Saying things like, "I'm always broke, nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm just not lucky," isn't just venting, it's commanding your world to align with that frequency. Your subconscious mind listens and complies, reshaping your reality to match your declaration. To change your world, change your words. Speak as though what you desire is already yours. Use words that reflect the person you want to be, not the circumstances you wish to escape. Speak prosperity, even if your bank account is empty. Speak love, even when you're surrounded by indifference. Speak healing, even when you're in pain. What you say from a place of inner belief will eventually manifest in the outer world. Your words are not echoes of your current life. They are blueprints of the life you are building. Speak with purpose, because reality listens. Inner conversations become outer conditions. What you whisper to yourself in the quiet of your mind eventually takes shape in the fabric of your life. These inner dialogues, though invisible and silent to the outside world, are deeply powerful. They are the scripts we live by. Every mental argument, every imagined confrontation, every rehearsal of failure or success sets the stage for how life unfolds. The mind, especially in its subconscious depths, does not differentiate between what is real and what is vividly imagined. So when we replay worries, doubts, and negative assumptions, we're not simply thinking, we're creating. This is why people often find themselves caught in patterns that feel outside their control. They may change cities, jobs, or relationships, but if the inner conversation remains the same, if they continue to silently affirm unworthiness, distrust, or fear, they will attract new versions of the same old story. The conditions of their outer life are simply the mirror reflecting their most dominant internal monologue. You cannot talk to yourself in defeat and expect victory. You cannot rehearse disappointment and manifest joy. If your self-talk is filled with thoughts of being overlooked, unsupported, or destined to fail, the world will show up in ways that reinforce those ideas. It is not because the world is against you. It is because your inner conversations are instructing it on how to treat you. The transformation begins when you become conscious of the stories you tell yourself in your mind. Start to guide those conversations toward what you truly desire. Imagine yourself succeeding, being loved, being powerful. Let your inner dialogue reflect confidence, peace, and clarity. It may feel unfamiliar at first, but with persistence, your outer world will shift to match this new narrative. What you consistently say to yourself within becomes the condition you live without. The mind speaks first. The world follows. Imagination is the master key. It is the silent architect behind every structure we see, every invention we use, every life we live. Before anything can exist in the physical world, it must first exist in the mind. Imagination forms the blueprint, the unseen draft of reality. What you consistently imagine, especially with emotion and belief, begins to solidify and find expression in the world around you. This is not just a creative tool for artists or dreamers. It is the engine of reality for every human being. When you imagine something vividly, your subconscious mind begins to accept it as real. The body responds, emotions align, and behavior shifts. Over time, circumstances bend to match this inner picture. A person who imagines themselves confident will begin to speak and act with more assurance. A person who imagines abundance, even in the face of scarcity, will begin to encounter new ideas, opportunities, and resources. The world rearranges itself to match the tone and texture of what is held persistently in the mind. Most people use imagination unconsciously. They worry, they replay past failures, they picture worst-case scenarios, and then those imagined fears show up in their lives. But when you use imagination deliberately, with discipline and purpose, you begin to unlock its true power. This is the difference between reacting to life and creating it. Imagination gives you the ability to mentally step into the future you desire and feel it as if it is already yours. That feeling, sustained and nurtured, is what begins to draw it into form. Imagination is not fantasy. It is the seed of reality. Everything you can see was once imagined. Everything you will become must first be claimed in the mind. The key is to use it consciously, with trust in its power, and to remain loyal to the vision, even when the outer world has not yet caught up. When you hold a picture in your mind with emotion, clarity, and faith, you are not just hoping. You are creating. Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. This is the secret to bridging the gap between desire and reality. Instead of waiting for the external world to change before you allow yourself to feel successful, loved, or free, you go within and generate that feeling now. By doing so, you align your inner state with the end result you desire, and in that alignment, you begin to draw it toward you. It's not about pretending or wishful thinking. It's about embodying the emotional and mental state of already having what you seek. When you assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled, you bypass doubt and limitation. You stop focusing on the absence of what you want and instead live from the presence of it. This shift in perspective is subtle but profound. Rather than saying, "I hope I will be," you begin to feel, "I already am." That internal conviction begins to reflect in your posture, your choices, your energy, and eventually in your circumstances. The subconscious mind responds most powerfully to feeling. It does not respond to vague hopes or mechanical repetition. It responds to emotional conviction. So when you vividly feel what it's like to be the person you want to become, your subconscious begins to move you toward that version of reality. Opportunities arise, behavior changes, and unseen forces start to collaborate with your vision. Life begins to mirror what you feel to be true within. This approach requires discipline. It asks you to remain faithful to the inner state, even when the outer world shows you the opposite. You must act as though your goal is already accomplished, not with arrogance, but with certainty. That certainty becomes magnetic. The more real the feeling becomes inside you, the more inevitable the outcome becomes outside you. You're hoping for change. You're living as though the change has already occurred, and that is when it begins to take form. What you believe about yourself is what you experience. Your self-concept acts like a filter through which all of life is interpreted and expressed. Every thought, decision, action, and result stems from the image you hold of yourself deep within. If you see yourself as capable, worthy, and deserving, life tends to confirm that. If, on the other hand, you believe you are limited, invisible, or unworthy, life will reflect those beliefs back to you with surprising accuracy. Your external reality is, in many ways, a mirror of your internal assumptions. These beliefs are not always conscious. Many are formed in early life through experiences, teachings, and emotional conditioning. Over time, they become internalized and unquestioned. You begin to act out those roles automatically, and the world cooperates by giving you more of the same. Someone who has been told they're not good enough may carry that belief unknowingly into every area of life, relationships, work, and even health, and repeatedly encounter situations that affirm it. The key is recognizing that these beliefs are not facts. They are choices, often unconscious ones, but still choices that can be revised. You have the power to redefine yourself from the inside out. The moment you begin to shift your belief about who you are, everything begins to change. You may notice subtle shifts in how people treat you, in the opportunities that come your way, and in the way you carry yourself through life. To change your life, start with changing your self-position. Speak to yourself with the authority of someone who knows their worth. Act as if you are already the version of yourself you want to become. Affirm it. Feel it. Live it. Your outer world can never rise above the level of belief you hold about yourself. But the beautiful truth is this: you can believe something new, and when you do, life will follow. Do not react, create. This simple principle holds profound power. Most people live in a state of reaction, responding to circumstances, other people's opinions, and the unpredictable events of life. They allow the outside world to dictate how they feel, how they think, and what they do. In this reactive state, they become passive participants in their own lives, always adjusting to what has already happened, rather than intentionally shaping what will happen. But when you choose to create instead of react, You reclaim your role as the author of your experience. Creation begins within. It starts by recognizing that your inner state determines how you interpret and respond to the world around you. If you remain centered, calm, and connected to your vision, no external event can truly disturb you. Instead of seeing challenges as threats, you begin to view them as raw material, something to be used, shaped, and transformed through intention. In every moment, you have a choice: to be pulled into unconscious reaction or to consciously generate the thoughts, feelings, and actions that align with the life you want to live. To create, rather than react, requires awareness. You must become the observer of your emotions, the witness of your thoughts, and the designer of your focus. When someone says something unkind, do you mirror that energy back, or do you rise above it and respond from a place of strength? When things don't go as planned, do you spiral into frustration, or do you adapt with clarity and purpose? The reactive path is automatic. The creative path is intentional, but it is through that intention that your power is found. Every great change in life comes not from reacting to the present, but from envisioning something greater and moving toward it with conviction. When you live from the creative state, you don't wait for the world to tell you who you are or what is possible. You decide. You imagine, you believe, and you act from the reality you are choosing to bring into being. This is how transformation happens, not from fighting what is, but from building what can be. Persist in the unseen. The most powerful transformations begin long before there is any visible evidence. The world may not yet show signs of change, but that does not mean change isn't occurring. Just as a seed grows roots in the dark soil before ever breaking through the surface, your desires, intentions, and inner work must often take root in the unseen before they blossom into the visible. This requires faith, discipline, and a quiet knowing that what you hold within will one day materialize without. Persistence in the unseen means remaining loyal to your vision when there is no external proof to support it. It is continuing to believe, to feel, and to act as though your desire is already fulfilled, even when circumstances seem to contradict you. Most people give up not because their goals are impossible, but because they lose sight of them when results don't appear fast enough. They let the outer world dictate their faith, forgetting that the outer is simply the echo of what was once imagined and sustained within. When you persist, you are not just waiting, you are creating. You are holding your focus, refining your inner state, and reinforcing the mental and emotional foundation that will eventually become physical reality. The longer you dwell in the feeling of your fulfilled desire, the stronger the blueprint becomes. The unseen world is where all manifestation begins. It is the womb of creation, the space where thoughts, feelings, and beliefs silently gather to form the structure of your future experience. It can be tempting to look around and say nothing is changing, but what you see now is just a reflection of past patterns. What you hold in your consciousness today is what will determine what comes next. So persist. Keep imagining. Keep affirming. Keep aligning. Your job is not to control how or when it appears. Your job is to remain unwavering in the assumption that it already is. Reality catches up to the imagination that refuses to give up. The subconscious accepts what the conscious mind repeatedly affirms. This is the foundational mechanism behind all lasting change, growth, and manifestation. Your subconscious does not judge, filter, or question the information it receives. It simply takes in what is consistently impressed upon it and responds accordingly. It is like fertile soil. Whatever seeds are planted and nurtured through repetition and feeling will eventually grow. The conscious mind is the gatekeeper, and through its focused direction, the subconscious is programmed. When you affirm something regularly, especially with emotion and conviction, you begin to shape the beliefs that govern your life. This process does not depend on whether the affirmation is currently true in the outer world. The subconscious does not require proof. It only needs consistency. If you say, "I am confident, I am abundant," or "I am healthy," over time your subconscious begins to accept these statements as fact. Once that happens, your behavior, perception, and even the circumstances around you begin to shift to reflect those beliefs. The opposite is also true. If you constantly affirm things like, "I can't do this," "nothing ever works out for me," or "I'm always tired," your subconscious accepts these as instructions and reinforces them. Without realizing it, many people trap themselves in loops of limitation simply because they speak and think in ways that affirm what they don't want. The key is becoming aware of your inner dialogue and consciously choosing to plant seeds that align with the life you desire. Affirmations are not just positive thinking. They are tools of reprogramming. When used deliberately and persistently, they can override years of negative conditioning. But they must be practiced regularly, not as mechanical repetition, but with feeling and belief. When you say something often enough, your subconscious begins to believe it, and once it believes, it finds ways to express it in your life. This is how thoughts become things, and how inner convictions quietly shape the world you experience. Speak as though it is already done. The words you choose are not merely reflections of your current state. They are powerful declarations that shape the trajectory of your life. When you speak from the place of a fulfilled desire, you align yourself with the outcome you wish to experience. This is more than positive thinking. It is the language of certainty. It is speaking from the end. Instead of saying, "I hope to succeed," you say, "I am successful." Instead of saying, "One day I'll be healed," you say, "I am whole now." This way of speaking plants the reality of your desire firmly in the present moment. The subconscious mind responds most powerfully to words charged with belief and emotion. When you speak as though your desire is already accomplished, you condition your mind to accept it as truth. This internal acceptance begins to influence your body, your behavior, and your decisions in subtle but profound ways. You begin to think differently, walk differently, and attract situations that support your declaration. It's not about pretending. It's about embodying the result before it physically arrives. When you speak of your goals as future possibilities, someday, maybe, hopefully, you place them just out of reach. But when you speak from the position that they are already yours, you draw them into your present reality. This shift in language alters your vibration and activates a creative force within you. The world begins to reflect the certainty with which you speak. This practice requires faith and discipline, especially when the evidence of the opposite seems overwhelming. But speaking as though it is already done is not denial. It is the act of choosing the reality you want and reinforcing it with your words. You are not waiting to see it before you believe it. You are believing it so you can see it. The power of your speech lies not in describing what is, but in calling forth what can be, as if it already is. Your state of consciousness attracts your wealth. Wealth is not simply the result of effort, strategy, or circumstance. It is a reflection of your internal state, the mental and emotional atmosphere you live in every day. If your consciousness is saturated with lack, fear, and limitation, no matter how hard you work or how many opportunities appear, you will find ways to sabotage, resist, or overlook them. Conversely, when your inner world is rooted in abundance, gratitude, and expectancy, you begin to draw experiences, people, and ideas that mirror that richness back to you. Consciousness is not just about what you think. It's about what you deeply believe and feel to be true. Many people outwardly say they want more wealth, but inwardly carry guilt, unworthiness, or fear around money. These hidden feelings become energetic barriers, repelling the very abundance they seek. You cannot attract what you fundamentally feel disconnected from. The universe responds not to words alone, but to the frequency you embody. When you carry yourself with the confidence, peace, and generosity of someone who already lives in abundance, you begin to magnetize the opportunities and resources that support that state. Shifting your state of consciousness means shifting the way you see yourself in relation to wealth. Do you view money as something scarce or something natural and flowing? Do you see yourself as someone who always struggles or someone who easily receives? The answers to these questions don't just stay in your mind. They shape your financial reality. True wealth consciousness involves not only thinking rich, but feeling rich, acting rich, and living from a sense of sufficiency and trust, regardless of what's in your bank account today. This does not mean ignoring practical actions or responsibilities, but it means infusing those actions with a new energy. Instead of chasing money from a place of desperation, you create value and act from a space of security and clarity. That difference in energy makes all the difference in outcome. Your outer wealth can rise only to the level of your inner wealth. To attract more, you must become more. Not in terms of worthiness, which is already yours, but in terms of awareness. When your state of consciousness aligns with abundance, abundance responds. So as we bring this message to a close, remember this. Your mouth, your mind, and your money are not separate forces. They are intimately connected, and together they form the foundation of your reality. The words you speak set the tone for your life. The thoughts you dwell on shape your identity, and the wealth you experience flows from the state of consciousness you consistently live in. You are not a victim of chance, fate, or circumstances. You are a creator. Every moment is a choice, to react or to create, to speak limitation or speak power, to believe in lack or align with abundance. Control is not about restriction, it is about direction. When you direct your mouth to speak only what you wish to live, when you train your mind to imagine and believe in the highest version of yourself, and when you align your inner world with the energy of prosperity, you don't just change your life, you transform it from the inside out. The power is already in you. Choose to use it. Speak deliberately, think intentionally, create boldly, because your world will always rise to meet the level of your consciousness.